Okay, everybody, we have in our midst one of the finest network marketers on the planet. Laura Bacchini has been networking for around 30 years, although if you see her picture, you'd never believe it. She started with 3 little kids under 3 on her lap as she was doing her work, has 4 kids in the business with her now, and I believe she has some good things to say about our presenter and the company that both represent. Laura Bacchini.
Hello, can you hear me, Rob?
Yes, perfectly.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to tonight's Wave 4 presentation. And we have with us John T. Burns, who's a new team member to Sisel, an incredible person who's a professional, somebody I've known about for 20 years, and I'm proud to call him my friend. And he's done an amazing amount of work to put this all together for everybody. So John T. Burns from South Carolina is going to present to us tonight. So, John, are you with us?
Yes, I am. Thank you, Laura. It's a pleasure. Thank you so much. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is John Burns. I'm coming to you live from Charleston, South Carolina. And I'm part of the Bacchini family, if you will. I've been adopted, and it's an honor to be part of their team. And I just am so privileged, and I feel honored to be part of an amazing group of people. And we're going to start it off. Of course, it all starts with Tom, and of course, then it starts with Miss Laura and a wonderful family. And it's just an honor to be working with them as part of a professional organization. We're going to answer some questions today, and first question that we're going to answer is, who the heck is this guy? And that's kind of funny because actually I have some flashbacks to back in 1995 when I was invited to Boston, Massachusetts, by Elizabeth Weber to do a meeting with my old Navy buddy Dan Mahoney. We did a Super Saturday. I think we called them Super Saturdays back then, but you know, some people were saying to Elizabeth, well, who are these guys? They're not even in the Powerline magazine. Who are these guys? So I'm going to take a couple minutes just to tell you a little bit about myself, and once we do that, then I'll get into the actual presentation itself. But I grew up, this is brain vitality. Everybody recognizes it. And, of course, Miss Laura has been dealing with me now for about 2 weeks. And after 3 days of talking to me on the phone, she said, yo, Anthony, you got to get this guy some brain vitality. He needs it bad. So that's a little self-deprecating humor on my part. I was born and raised in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And my mom made sure that I always went to Catholic schools growing up. I'm Irish German by ethnic descent. That's my mom right there, Dorothy I. Burns. She's in heaven right now. But I remember I came home from Catholic school one day, and I looked at my dad. I said, hey, Dad, Father said that Jesus said that if somebody hits me, I'm supposed to turn the other cheek. And my daddy said, that's right, son, turn your other cheek. And if that hot dog hits you again, you beat the heck out of him. And my mama said, nope, win your battle with your brain. So that fella that's shaking hands with me, just in case you think this is some kind of crazy before and after, I'm the guy on the right. And the guy on the left is a fellow by the name of Dan Burns. And I actually met him in a seminary, St. Paul Seminary, just outside of Pittsburgh. And one time I thought I had to call him, but I started dating girls, and out with the window that idea went. And he asked me, what are you going to do after high school, Johnny? I said, well, I'm going to join the Navy. And I had several cousins that joined the military. One joined the Army and 2 joined the Navy. But the 2 guys in the Navy were on surface fast frigates. I said, I know, I'll do something really crazy. I'll join the submarine service. And it was probably the best thing I ever did because I learned so much. And I got to become of a very tight-knit, very small community in the world, the silent service. And anyway, as that time went rolled on, that's my boat. That's the USS Kashmir Pulaski, SSBN 633. She's razor blades now, but back then I got on board in Norfolk, Virginia, actually, in the Newport News shipyards. We left the shipyard and we came to Charleston, and then we started our missions. Actually deployed out of Kings Bay, Georgia, which is just outside of Jacksonville, just over the Georgia line, about 3 miles over the Georgia line. Anyway, to make a long story short, I ended up going to Charleston, South Carolina, and that's the mothership called a submarine tender Her name is the USS Holland AS-32. And in 1986, I got transferred to the Holland, and I was part of the Commodore staff. I was in the operations department. But on board the Holland, there was a gentleman I bumped into, and everybody was talking about me because I was talking to him all the time down in the DAPA office. That's DATA. That stands for Drug Alcohol Prevention Assistance Program. So everybody was worried if I was on something. But the guy I met was a gentleman by the name of Dan Mahoney, and he was affectionately referred to in the network marketing community as the Rhino Man. In fact, you can see the little Rhino plate on the front of his Cadillac, and that's his beautiful wife, Laura. And they introduced me to the world of network marketing. And he told me, and the company that he was representing at the time was Amway. And I said, Dan, I'm not doing Amway. I've tried that a couple of times. I can't make any money in it. But come on over and, I'll help you out. I'll buy some stuff off you. So the problem was, every time he came over, it cost me $200 in retail before he got the hell out of there. So after about 3 episodes of that, he was starting to wear me down. But he was trying to find out what my hot button was. And he overheard me talking one day. So he came over to my home, and he pumped in a VHS tape. And I'm sure there's a lot of folks on the call that remember what VHS tapes were back then. But he punched up a convention video with Amway, and on the video was President Ronald Reagan. And I said, well, if it's good enough for the president, it's good enough for me. And that's literally why I got it. But anyway, we started working together, and over the course of time, we ended up leaving Amway. We went to a company in 1994 called Market America, based out of Greensboro, North Carolina. And, we did some amazing things. And because we worked so hard, and I mean worked hard, and I'll get into details a little bit into the presentation, but we did crazy things for a part-time home business opportunity. But because we were willing to pay the price, in 1997, we were recognized on stage by James Ridinger, the president and CEO of Market America, and we received the James H. Ridinger Award. In fact, we were the last 2 guys to receive it. And I was totally, you can look at Dan, that's Dan in the right there, and he's totally shocked. He can't believe it. I can't believe it. And I'm looking at this picture after all these years. I'm wondering if JR is thinking, I can't believe I did that. And then the guy behind Dan, his name's Marty Weissman, and I'm thinking he's thinking, I can't believe he did that. So anyway, we got the award, and I'll get into those details later. But in 1998, I started having problems in my personal life. My business fell apart. It was a binary plan. I had one leg walk to another company. And if you're in a binary plan and you're one-legged, you're busier than a one-legged man in a kicking contest. So we can eat that out later. But as I go through it, I ended up moving to North Carolina, and I couldn't find any submarines running up and down I-95. So I had to find the next best thing, and the next best thing was working at a nuclear power plant as a security officer. And I just got a request to repeat the access code for screen sharing. That code is 605499126. I'll say that again, 605499126. Okay, it's a good thing I wrote that on that 3x5 card. They're like launch instructions, okay? I went to work at a nuclear power plant. This is right around 9/11, when 9/11 happened. And I was running around the base with a bunch of these guys. I say base, it's a plant. And we were all ex-military, a lot of Navy guys, a lot of Army guys. My sergeant was an ex-Marine. We were running around this nuclear power plant with AR-15 assault rifles and 9mm Berettas. And, twice a year we'd have to go to the gun range and recertify. I had a great time, but the rest of the time, it was pretty boring. I worked night shift from 6 o'clock at night till 6 o'clock in the morning. And on the East Coast during daylight savings time, I actually had to set my phone to the 24-hour clock because if it was 6 o'clock in the morning, I didn't know if it was 6 o'clock in the morning or 6 o'clock at night. I used to leave the plant in the morning and go, hurry, master, hurry, before the sun comes up, just to get back to the house and try and go to bed before the sun came up. And it was at this time that another buddy of mine that I knew from Market America, he had already moved to Florida, him and his family, and he started up a mortgage banking business. And he said, well, John T., why don't you come on down and take this sales aptitude test, and I'll make you a loan originator, and you can start writing mortgages. There's a lot of money in the mortgage business right now. And that was in 2004, and I did that. And I took the test. I pretty much aced the test. And then I was doing it for about 2 years until the real estate bubble exploded. And then I found myself, getting a little stressed out. In fact, I got up to go to work one day, and that code again is 605-499-126. 605-499-126. Anyway, I got up to go to work one day, and all of a sudden my whole world turned into an episode on the old Batman show with Adam West. The whole room was tilted, and I ended up having a stroke. And I knew it was serious because I could just look at the EMT's face, and I said, okay, I'm getting ready to buy the farm. This is it. And, at that time, when you think you're going to die, it changes your whole perspective on a lot of things. And I said, I had a good run. I got 2 beautiful boys, a beautiful granddaughter, and I've danced with some of the most beautiful women in the world. And, I said my prayers, made my peace, and said, okay, go up, Lord, let's go. And I woke up the next morning, and I thought, wow, I'm still here. In fact, the next thing I know, that's my baby boy, Sean, and I always call him my baby boy. He gets a little embarrassed when I call him my baby boy. But he actually stands about 6'4". He weighs 270 pounds, and he walks in the door jam. I hear the Terminator song in my head, da-dun-dun-dun-dun. But he's a big guy, but he's a very kind-hearted human being, and I've never seen him mad, and nor do I ever want to. But he came down to the Orlando Regional Medical Center, and he said, hey, Pop, we're going to get you well. Don't worry. So from there, I ended up going to the VA rehab facility in Orlando, and the guy in the blue shirt on my right is Mr. Craig Melton, Coach Melton, and he is right now heading up the soccer program for the Orlando Soccer Club. And the guy on your left, my right, is a fellow by the name of Jason Russo. He's a great guy. He used to be my office mate in the mortgage banking business. They came down to see me and made my day. And, when this picture was taken, I had no idea that someday I'd be using this photograph in a presentation. But I really felt, and still do to this day, every day, that the good Lord kept me around because he had something else he wanted me to do before I finally went home. And then Sean and Megan, that's his beautiful wife, Megan, they said, hey, Pop, when I got out of the VA, they said, you need to move back to South Carolina. I need to keep you closer to home and keep an eye on you. I said, okay, baby, whatever you say. So after 10 years in Florida, I ended up moving back to South Carolina. And then in July, a buddy of mine, that's Dan, that's the fellow I had received the award with, he said, hey, I think I found what we're looking for our Wave 4 system. I said, okay. So we thought we did. In fact, I had another buddy of mine, a Mr. Roberto Coleone. He went out to Utah, and he was checking them out. And they were having problems starting in September. In fact, Dan got so stressed out about this company dropping the ball that he left. He said, I'm out of here. I can't take it no more. I'm all stressed out. I'm moving on. So the next thing I know, it's January, and there's Dan and Brenda Price, And that was Dan that was on the conference call today. And beside them are Diane and John Papa. And, Diane's very much a product person. And Dan's all about systems. He's an ex-nuclear engineer, and he said, John T., we've got the right system, but we just got to find the right company. And Diane said, well, whatever you do, make sure you find a company that has a great product line. And the next thing I know, I'm getting this phone call. And on the phone is Dan Kinnison and Ray Hutchinson. And we're having a good conversation, and I'm really liking these guys. On a scale of 1 to 5, they probably had me at 5. But then they introduced me to Miss Laura Bacchini, and then that got me to like 9.5, okay? And I told Laura, I said, Laura, I've got my main man out there in Salt Lake City right now checking out the other deal. If he comes back and says, we're doing that deal, we're going to stick with that deal. I mean, I love what I see. And I never prayed so hard in my life that my buddy would come back and say, hey, those are great guys, and, it's a great deal, but I was praying that he would say, but, and he did. And, the more I think about it, when I was putting this presentation together, my personality is I'm a lot like Dan, and my buddy, the nuclear guy, he's a lot like Ray, and Diane's a lot like Laura. It's like we were mirror images of each other. And Laura knew all about the products. In fact, we did a 3-way call. She was talking to Diane, and for an hour, I was taking like 5 pages of notes, just trying to keep up with these two girls as they were going through the product. And anyway, don't let it fool you. Laura knows the plan quite well. And then I was reminded about what Jim Rohn said. It's not the winds of change that determine your destiny, but it's the scent of your sail that determines your destiny. So we changed course. We as a team decided we're going with Sisel International. And it was a perfect fit because it was really the world's first Wave 4 company. And I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this slide, but, we got the right corporate leadership. We got a beautiful facility. We're an American-made products, making products by Americans being shipped to 36 countries all over the world. We got a state-of-the-art comp plan that can't be touched. It's seamless. We got the whole world in our hands. We got a beautiful health and fitness line, and we got a beautiful product line for ladies and skincare and eyelashes, and more products are coming out all the time. And I knew we had the right system, and that gave us the slight edge. But more importantly, this is the critical part. You can have all of this. You can have it all. But if you get in too late, it's really not a good thing if you come in too late. But as Tom's always saying, we're in the sweet spot. And that's what that slide says, sweet spot. We're in the right place at the right time. So here we are. Welcome to the Wave 4 Now Business Development System. And I'm going to kind of fly through this, and hopefully I'll be done by time 40. And then I'm just going to take 5 more minutes and give you some OJT and actually share the screen and show you what our system can do. I just want to give you a taste. And if you like what you see, then, send me a text message on Facebook. I'll make a post on the team page shortly after this training. And if you like what you saw and it's positive, please post it on the team page. If you have any constructive criticism, please send it to my email at John T. Burns, as in Thomas, John T. Burns, 007 at Gmail. So if you have any constructive criticism, I'll be glad to take it. And probably it's going to be stop talking so much. But our system is giving you the ability to actually measure, monitor, adjust, and control your future. See, if you can't measure your progress and you can't monitor it, you really don't have any control. And that's what our system gives you, is control. Now, there are 8 things you have to master to be successful in any business, but especially this one. Attitude and knowledge. You got to learn how to set smart goals. You got to be able to do presentations and follow up. You got to know how to, as JR used to say, shake the bean jar. So you have to have some way of sifting and sorting your leads and your prospects so that you know that your time is well invested. You have to use Wave 4 communications, and you got to be able to promote events, because that's where the big money is, and in the events. And our guys are proving it all up and down the East Coast this past week. So what business are we in? Well, we're in the people business. Make no doubt about it. And this is the success formula, and this is the formula that's been true since 1935. 15 years worth of research went into Mr. Dale Carnegie's book, How to Win Friends and Influence People. 85% of your success in this business is going to come from your ability to communicate and influence people, all right? 15% of your success is going to come from your technical knowledge. I don't care how much you know about this system or what you can do with computers or anything. Or product knowledge, it doesn't matter, okay? You can sit there and study these products till you're blue. But if you can't relate and communicate and inspire people, and like Dan says, tell your story. If you can't tell your story with passion, forget about it. It ain't going to happen, okay? So this is Zig Ziglar, and this is his famous quote that he's famous for, world renowned. And I'm not going to state it, but you can see it right there. And I knew I always liked Zig. I just couldn't figure out why until I found his old World War II Navy picture. I thought, dang, that explains it all right there. And, I never heard Zig say he read the book, but I've listened to him for hours. Based on everything he's saying, I know he read the book. So if you haven't read this book in the last 6 months, you might want to pick up a copy. In fact, I highly recommend it. Not only do you get a copy of the book, but I get the book on CD so I can listen to it in the car while you're doing that dead time going back and forth to work, and your university on wheels is what we used to call your car. So what are your dreams? What are you in? Well, do you want to build a world dynasty like Mr. Dan Kennison's doing with Diane? Or maybe you're like Ray and you want to change your life and turn you around. I was busting Ray's chops a little bit. I said, Ray, this looks like you on Law and Order, and now you're on SWAT, before and after. That's a little joke. Or do you want to be like Laura Puccini and build a family dynasty, a business, and something that you can share and raise your kids and teach your kids the values of network marketing and owning your own business and self-determination? Or do you want to be a nut job like me and maybe take a stab at getting one of the new DB10s? That car was actually designed for the new upcoming Bond movie coming out in November. It's the only movie I'm going to see in the entire year of 2015. Or maybe you want to dream of having a back office like that one right there. Now, the picture to the right, that's my boy Sean, and that's really what I look like. I'm about 25 pounds lighter than the previous picture, but that's me. This whole 007 thing got started when I posted on my Facebook about having a healthy self-image, and it's not vanity. And I said, when I looked in the mirror, and then I posted a picture of Sean Connery, you just go to my Facebook page and you'll see the post. And an old buddy of mine by the name of Alan, I'm not going to say his last name, that Alan made a post. He said, if you got contact, you'd be the spitting image of him. I said, I'll take that for action, Alan. So really it's about putting together time to put together a plan, really committing to the Maurer mission, making sure you got the right tools, and we're getting ready to have a new kit introduced by Sisel International. And you want to put your dream board together, write down some goals, also call goals benchmark. Benchmark is a Navy term, but it really is. How are you measuring your progress? You want to develop an action plan, and you want to use the right tool. Dan Kennison talks about tools all the time, and this is just another tool. Now, I'm not saying this is the only way to build this business, but it is a way, okay? And I think you'll see the value here in a little bit. So it's always good to start with your why. Remember why you're doing it. The reason why I'm doing it is I thank God every day that he gave me another 5 or 10 years. The doctor said 5 years, but I think in taking Tom's products, I'll probably squeeze 10 out before the good Lord finally calls me home. The picture on the left is my boy Christopher, his beautiful wife Tanya, and that's my grandbaby, and that's Tanya. And of course, we've already met Sean and Megan. And this is why I'm doing it. Because a year from now, I'm going to have an event. And I'm going to have them as a VIP guest in the front of the room. We're going to have a round table, details to follow. It's going to be a black tie. And everybody that, our whole team, and it's open, anybody can come. But we're going to have a black tie round table event so that I can show my two boys that their daddy isn't as nuts as everybody said he was. So it's important to know why you're doing it because it's the most important thing. You know, when you got a bad day at your job or your car breaks down, or you get an ugly phone call from somebody, or your spouse is being difficult, well, they repo your car. I got a story, but I'll tell you that story convention. And a good friend tells you no. It keeps you focused. You clearly have to have why power because why power beats willpower every single time. So you want to set up some SMART goals. SMART's an acronym, and it stands for specific, measurable, actionable, realistic, and time. Now, specific is, and this is important, because the entire time I was in Amway, I used to frustrate the heck out of myself. Because I'd say, I'm going to be this pin level or that pin level. You know, you can't put results as a goal. The only thing that you can put as a goal is, how many people are you going to talk to today? How many business cards are you going to hand out today? How many times are you going to share your marketing site with someone today? You can only make goals about action steps that you can take. You can't set goals of results, okay? Now, like Jim Rohn said, when you do something long enough, a ratio appears, and when you hand out enough business cards, and you say, wow, I sponsored 3 people in Sisel International this week, and I handed out 10 business cards. Well, your ratio is 3 out of 10, okay, which is incredible because, like Jim Rohn says, you're batting 300, and you don't have to bat 1,000. You don't have to get all 10. You know, if you get 1, you're amazing. If you get 2, you're incredible. If you can do 3 out of 10, you're on your way to greatness. And then you want to write a goal statement and keep it close. Maybe put it on your refrigerator or put it on your bathroom mirror or even, you know, whatever, and just read it to you every day. It's what you want and when you want it. And it's a positive affirmation to yourself. And you want to read it twice a day. First thing in the morning and before you go to bed and say your prayers, you want to read it again. That's got to be the first thing in your mind in the morning and the last thing in your mind when you go to bed. And I highly recommend this book, The Slight Edge, by Jeff Olson. You really, really, really want to get this book. Because in this book, he talks about building slow to build fast. Because unless you get someone started properly, okay, and really give them a fighting chance and take the time to help them, you're just setting them up for failure. Okay, so if you get someone started right and you duplicate that every month, let's say you just bring in one person a month, but you get them started right. Well, double that every month and see where you're at in 24 months. Double that, okay, like double the penny theory, okay? So these are some of the things you want to do, and you can get a list of these things and download them right from the Files section on our team, Wait For Now down page under Files. And you can print all these out. Don't worry about trying to write this stuff down now because we're recording the call, and, you know, you'll be able to check it out later, and you can download it. And if you need that, just hit me in the chat, and I'll make sure you get a copy. You know, you can build this business part-time. You can build it full-time. And you can build it big time. But you can't build it sometime. Even if you can only give this business, like my buddy Dan, he works an ungodly amount of hours. I said, Dan, just give me 2 hours a week. Or an hour. Just give me an hour a week. Just give me an hour a week. 2 hours a week. And with this system, we can get the job done. That's the USS Carl Vinson. That's the ship that buried Osama bin Laden. And I just had to put it in there because I'm just, you know, they say you can take the boy out of the Navy, but it's really hard to take the Navy out of the boy. Now I'm going to share something that really has nothing to do with network marketing, but everything to do with network marketing. This gentleman's name is W. Edward Deming, and he's known as the father of total quality management. And I'm going to tell you a little story and why this is so important, but just pay attention to this for a minute. The Navy adopted Dr. Deming's principles, and they changed it to total quality leadership. But when he wrote it and called it total quality management. And I know Tom knows all about this stuff because I'm sure they're using it at the plant. You know, in the late, or the 50s and 60s, if it said made in Japan, that really translated into poor quality back then, okay? And so the Japanese brought Dr. Deming out, and he was a statistician. He was a numbers cruncher is what he was. And he said, you know what, guys, 97% of all error occurs within your system. So if you can perfect your system, you can turn out a better product or a better service and have a better result. Well, they took everything he said to heart. And it took them some time. It took them 10, 15 years to finally get it right. But they did. And by the late 1970s, they were kicking the hell out of Detroit, okay? In fact, they were kicking the hell out of Chrysler, and Chrysler was about to go under in the late 1970s. And then Chrysler, with the help of the federal government, Iacocca, the father of the Ford Mustang, came along, and they said, we want you to save Chrysler. So he told the government he needed an ungodly amount of money, and everybody was screaming about giving a private company that much money to keep them afloat. But what he did, it was pretty amazing. It was quite the show game. He built these things called K cars, okay? And what he did was he built a bazillion of these. I don't know how many he built. But he ended up building them, and then he sold them to the government. And then they bought them, and then he paid the government back with their own money. Only the government could do something like that. It was a riot. So that's what Chrysler did. But, you know, Ford, they decided they're going to do something different. So they said, we're going to bring over that guy that helped Honda and Toyota. We're going to bring him to talk to Ford. And so they did. And Ford told them, perfect your system. So it took them a while, but they decided at that point in time in the company's history to change their slogan from Built Ford Tough to Quality is Job One. Okay? And, you know, this didn't happen overnight. It took years for them to change their mindset, accept the fact that they needed to change something, and really perfect their system. Okay? And in 2009, right after President Obama got elected, here's GM, and what do we got? Another bailout. And it's just amazing. Like, man, this is like 30 years later. They haven't learned a dang thing. But there's one company that didn't need a bailout because they got their act together. The name of that company was Ford because they learned how to perfect their system. And that's the Ford Fusion Hybrid. And when I was at the VA, a lady friend of mine pulled up behind me in this sucker, and it was so quiet, and she honked her horn and damn near scared me out of my shoes. And I thought, man, I got to get one of these. This is like an old fleet boat, an old submarine on four wheels. It has an electric motor. It has a gas engine, but its primary purpose is to recharge the battery and run the generator that runs the electric motor. So it's a beautiful car. If you haven't test drove one of those, and I highly recommend that you do it. I don't care how the price of gas goes down, because you know what goes down, especially when it comes to gas, eventually it'll go back up. So here we are. This is probably the most important slide of the entire show that I'm going to share with you, okay? So people get into network marketing. They get all jacked up. They're all excited. And they got their dreams and goals, and that's represented by the big circle all the way on the right. And there they are on the left. And they get involved. And they get involved. They got to learn all this kind of stuff they got to do. And they're out there trying to do it. They're trying to duplicate. They're trying to build a team. But their enthusiasm starts to cool down a little bit. And the cone represents human error rate, okay? Because you cannot duplicate human beings. You cannot do it. I can't be a Dan Kennison. I can share some of his personality traits, but I can't walk into a room and be him. I can't be Ray Hutchinson. I can only be the best John Burns I can be. I know for a fact I can't be a Laura Puccini. I mean, you see me walking down the street, there's no way you're going to mistake me from her, okay? So here people are. They're trying to learn all these approaches. Then they're trying to learn how to show the plan and share the product. Then they got to learn how to follow up. Then they got to learn how to overcome objections. And then they got to learn how to close. I mean, my God, this is a part-time deal, okay? And wave 3 companies are stuck doing this. And this is what happens to all these people, all these network marketing companies, is they do it, and they do it. They do it again, and then they get demotivated. And then they get irritated. And then they're like, dang, how come this ain't working for me? And then all of a sudden, they go, I just can't do it anymore. I'm burned out in network marketing, and I quit. Well, here it goes. Their dream is gone. They've done it for 10, 15, 20 years, and they just can't understand why it didn't work for them. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I'm here to tell you that Sisel International is a Wave 4 company. And Wave 4 now is a Wave 4 system. And this little girl right here, Diane, if you heard her not this weekend, but it was the first weekend about 2 weeks ago on a Saturday on the call, the day that we had our launch. And Tom, after I showed Tom the presentation that's already been posted up on the team page, he looked at that presentation and said, okay, I'm impressed. Just listen to what he had to say. And Diane looked at that. Diane, I ran Diane through the platform I'm about to share with you. And oh my God, here she is. Bam. She's back, bigger than ever, and ready to go happen with Sisel International. Okay? If it's speaking in, forgive me, I got my friend Napoleano trying to call me. I'll have to call him back in a little bit. So there's me and Dan, and we got that award in 97. But let me tell you what we did to earn that award. You see, we put 198,000 miles on my car. And I'm listening to these battle stories about Ray out there in the car and driving hours and hours and hours. And, you know, I can relate to Ray and Laura and everybody that does this because this ain't easy, and it takes an incredible effort. And the first weekend I get in this business with my buddy Dan Mahoney, he says, hey, we got to go to Miami. Harold wants to see the plan. So we're driving on the weekend to Miami to show this guy Harold the plan. And you know what? Every weekend after that, we were either going to Jacksonville, Orlando, Miami, Fort Myers, Florida, Hattiesburg, Mississippi, Biloxi, Mississippi, Augusta, Georgia, St. Louis, Missouri. And we're doing it on the weekend. Well, and I was still in the Navy when we were doing it. It was incredible, okay? And then when we did get back in town, here we are in South Carolina. We're running from Charleston to Columbia to Myrtle Beach to Greenville to Charlotte to Wilmington. We did all that in 2 years, okay? And they said this was part-time. And they said it was home-based. Well, yeah, maybe. I was home long enough to shower, do my laundry, get my suit cleaned, and get back on the road again. But really, work from home? I don't think so, okay? And this is really what everybody in the Wave 3 company's got to do. And, you know, people are not, the 95% of the people in this industry are not going to do that. They're just not going to do it. Now, if you're a total nut job and an ex-submarine sailor, yeah, you might do it, but 95 people out of 100 aren't going to do what Ray does. I mean, they'll go to the meeting. If Ray comes to their town, they'll go to the meeting, but they're not going to drive 6 hours or 10 hours. Or, you know, they're just not going to do it. It's too tough, and a lot of them got a job. So here we are with the Wave 4 system. Now, with Sisel and our Wave 4 system, you have literally what I call a virtual franchise, and you can duplicate a system. You can't duplicate people, but you can duplicate a system because all you have to do is really all you have to do is learn how to do approaches. That's it. You have to do a new type of approach, and you need a killer business card. And if you plug in and use this system, it'll take care of showing the plan, sharing the products, and getting the people in front of it. It'll take care of the follow-up. You've got to be able to overcome objections, and you've got to close. Now, let me tell you how it works, okay? If you plug them in, you're going to be able to successfully duplicate. Now, these circles represent a zero error rate, but I'm not saying it's going to be zero, but I'm saying it's going to be a lot better than 50%, okay? I'm saying that I think we can eliminate the error rate down to about 25%, okay? Because people are still people. Some people are going to do this and some people aren't. But the chances of your success are going to go way up, okay? And the first thing you do is you hand somebody a business card. And this is real important. You want to look in their eye and say, hey, how you doing, Linda? And just listen to Linda and say, wow, how long have you been here doing here? How long have you been working here? And Linda says, oh, I've been here for 10 years. And then I said something like, wow, you must really love it here. No, I hate it here. I'm working this job. I'm working another job. My husband's working 2 jobs. We're just trying to make ends meet. And, you know, before I walk out the door, I turn around and I look at Linda and I say, you know, Linda, I can't promise you anything, but I'm going to give you my business card. This might be what you're looking for. Check this out. Check this out. That's your new approach. Check this out. Because what's going to happen is she's going to go to your website and she's going to fill out the information. And then she's going to go to your marketing site. It's automatically going to take her here. And this is why I call my business card Tomahawk. and you'll understand when we preview it a little bit. I'm running a little bit over time, but bear with me. I'll try and get done in the next 5 minutes. But I've never done this before, this presentation before, ladies and gentlemen, so you are helping me perfect the system, okay? And then they're going to send you a message, and they're going to contact me. So you're going to call them, and they're going to ask some questions. And you're going to say, well, you know what? Let me get my good friend Ray Hutchinson on the phone. Or let me get my team's product expert on the phone, Miss Laura Bacchini. And Ray and Laura is going to do all the work for me. They're going to take care of all the arrows up front so I can take notes, so I can learn how to do that for my people. And then the last thing that I'm going to do, and what they're going to do, is they're going to say, well, you know, John, I really like Linda. Why don't you friend her on Facebook, plug her into the team page, let her meet some of the people on our team, and then plug her into the wake-up call tomorrow or Thursday or whenever she can. Now, when they plug into the call, like the call we had today, you know, Dan calls it the wake-up with Sisel call. But you know what I call it? I call it the close. Because if anybody went through what I just described and they get on that call, they're in. It's a done deal, okay? Because I don't care what the topic of the day is, whether it's making the list, whether it's, you know, whatever the topic is. My mind's racing and my mind's out running my mouth. No matter what that topic is, they're going to, I love Sisel because the products are so great and Tom's so great and the opportunity is so great. I'm making money I've never made money before. And I've got my health issues are getting fixed up and I just love helping people. And I just, you know, and you're hearing all the testimonials on that call. And when they hang up that call, it's done. It's over. They're getting in. If they don't get in after that call, there's nothing you can say. In fact, the only thing that you should remember right now, and even write this one down, is, you know, you can't say the right thing to the wrong person. And you can't say the wrong thing to the right person. You see, they're either looking or they're not. And if they're looking and you run them through this system, it's a done deal. It's like Jim Rohn always said, when you do something long enough, a ratio appears. And part of our Wait For Now system is our Wait For Now business cards. And we actually have our own custom designer that's making these cards for us. And I'm going to show them to you. And you can get 2,500 cards for $80, right around $80, 81, whatever, for shipping or not. But the beautiful thing about this system is it's going to help you become faster, stronger, better, bigger than before. You're going to be able to do things you've never done before in this system, because this system is going to educate your prospect. It's going to present to your prospect. In fact, it's going to follow up with your prospect. And again, I highly recommend that you read the book, The Slide Edge, because with this system, and it's not the end-all, blood-all, so I'm not promising you that. But I'll tell you what, you run enough people through this program, if you're willing to hand out 2,500 business cards, I promise you, if you hand out 2,500 business cards over the next 2 to 3 years, even if it took you 5 years, everything you want in life is going to occur. I really do. I really believe that, because if you got, out of 2,500, let's just say half go to the website. Just half. That's 1,200 people look at the website. 1,200 people meet Mr. Tom Maurer. 1,200 people hear Tom. They see the facility. They check out the product line. And then let's say out of 1,200, only 600 do the three-way call. Out of 600. Okay? And then out of 600 people do the call. They do the Wake Up with Sisel call with Dan that Dan does every day, Monday through Saturday. 600 people listen to that call. I'm pretty sure we're probably gonna sponsor at least half of those. 300 people. Imagine what would your life be if you had 300 people just as excited about Sisel International as you are, and they're all part of your team. Okay? So we really have leveled the playing field here, giving anyone who has the desire, the right attitude, the work ethic, a fair shot at the pursuit of happiness, working from home. Now, I'm not guaranteeing success. I'm guaranteeing the fair shot. That's what I'm talking about, giving you a fair shot. You still got to do the work, make no doubt about it. It's called network marketing, okay? And one of the biggest things that this system is going to help you do is really protect your most vital asset, and that is your time. Because once you spend your time, it's gone forever. I did 14 years in the Navy, and I'll never get those 14 years back. Now, I don't regret it at all. I love 12 out of 14 years, and if you look at that kind of ratio, that's not a bad track record. So what we're talking about is running beads through the jar. I'm going to fly through this pretty quick, so hang in there with me. I promise you I'll be done in 10 minutes, okay? All these green jelly beans are what we call leads, all right? And I'll come back to that white jelly bean later. And you got to run your leads into your jar. You got to collect possibilities. And your jar is basically your Wait For Now system, your contact management system. And the first thing you're going to put in that jar is your warm market, people that you know, your top 10 list. My entire top 10 list is comprised of people that I've known for over 20 years, okay, like Diane, like Dan that you heard from this morning. I've known these people for 20 years. And they're going, okay, John T., if you say so. And I just run them through the funnel. And I can hand people a business card. Or I can meet somebody on Facebook on a chat and just send them to waitfornow.com. And they go to waitfornow.com, and they go into the system, and they check out Tom. And that's why I call my business cards Tomahawk. And, you know, every time that somebody goes into your system, every time, you get a little bing on your phone, a little bing. And you're sitting there having coffee with somebody, sharing with them about Sisel International. All of a sudden, bing, 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 it's all on your phone. You go, what the heck is that? Well, that's the sound of money. Because every time you get a bing, that means somebody's talking or listening to Tom. You're putting them right in front of Tom. Everybody you know is going right in front of Tom, okay? And as they go through the process, they go from a lead, which is simply a name, phone number, and email, to becoming a prospect when they hit your website one time. And if they go to your website 3 times, they become a hot prospect. And at that point, they're going to say, not right now. And you say, great, can I call you back in 90 days? Sure, no problem. Because, you know, timing is everything in life. And, you know, Dan Kinnison, Ray Hutchinson, and Laura Pacini, through a miracle, through an absolute miracle, found me exactly at the right time. If it would have been the wrong time, I would have said no. In fact, I actually was prospected for Sisel a couple times, but it wasn't at the right point in my life. And when they did, it was an answer to a prayer. And if they say, yeah, I'm ready to get started, or, hey, I want to be a customer. Either way, we're going to say, welcome aboard, okay? Glad to have you here, all right? So that white jelly bean in the middle there, once in a while, you're going to find one of them. And I call them magic beans. I found a magic bean in my previous company, Market America, and it was down 100 levels deep, this little girl. She was, I call her the deadliest hobbit in the Shire. She was a 6th grade school teacher, and she never showed the compensation plan, not one time. All she did was share the product, you know, promote events. Those are the 2 things she did. She shared the product, and she promoted the event. And she turned a lot of people from leads to prospects to hot prospects. And one thing about magic beans, if you get one, if you find one, and they'll find you, you know, they know other magic beans, all right? So bottom line is get a domain name, all right? And you're going to need it for business cards, Facebook chats, and text messages. That's my friend Maria and her husband, Chuck. They're down in Fort Myers. This is our custom art designer, and she's doing this incredible deal for our team. Like I said, 2,500 cards, 2-sided. In fact, that's my card. The Hawaii 5-0 side on one, and then the submarine on the back. But then I started realizing, hey, John, you know, with Sisel, they got all these different products. You might want to rethink the back side of your card a little bit. So I said, you know, Maria, can we do this? And this is what she did. These are these beautiful cards. They're full color. They even got a nice glossy finish on them, and they're a heavy-weighted card. You could literally open up a door with one of these cards. They're absolutely gorgeous. And you get 2,500 of them, full color, front and back. for about $80. You hand out 2,500 cards, you're going to be okay. Now, I always hated calling leads because I hate calling people cold. I hate it. I absolutely hate it. And guess what? I'm not the only one. Because most people, according to Danny Johnson, and if you've been in this industry, you know who Danny Johnson is. She came out with a statistic, and she said, do you know that 75% of people that buy a leads list don't call? That's why these guys are still in business selling the same list over and over and over and over. So when you buy leads, should you buy leads, don't ever buy a lead without hitting me in Facebook, okay? Because especially if you got the system, don't buy a lead until you talk to me, okay? And I'm not making any money on the system, and I'm not making any money on the leads, okay? And the system's going to help you promote events. And even with this system, remember, you're still going to have ups and downs. You're going to have challenges. But every time you're going to get up, you're going to be a little higher than you were before. And the system actually lets you try it for $1. In fact, they just get $1 authorized on your debit card or credit card, but they don't even charge you $12.95 until the end of the week. And on top of that, it's tax deductible anyway, all right? And that's the website. So these are some thoughts. I'm going to close. We're almost at the end. We're getting ready to close the deal. Of course, I want to thank the Baccinis for all their help and assistance. Dominic, Liana, Anthony, Laura. They've just been the best in the world. Ray Hutchinson, what a great guy. Did some great calls with me. There's Diane and her husband, John, the first person I brought into the business. Of course, Dan and Diane Kinnison, I can't speak highly enough of them. I mean, the work. Let me tell you, he works his tail off putting that call together every day. He's not taking it easy. He's making a little bit of money. Well, actually, he's making a lot of bit of money. But he's earning every dime, okay? No doubt about it. And then this couple here, this is Mike McCormick and his sweetheart, Teresa. And after 20 years, they were high school sweethearts. They got back together. And I've known Mike for 20 years. He's a great leader in this industry. And he's not with us. But, you know, this business isn't necessarily just about, you know, just because somebody doesn't get into Sisel International with you doesn't mean you cut them off at the knees. You got to maintain relationships because, you know, yeah, they might not be in business with you right now, but who knows what's going to happen a year from now. And there's Dan and Brenda, who's just coming on board. And then there's my buddy Top Cat, the guy holding that glass. His name's Top Cat. And he's a great guy, and he understands the comp plan. And there's my buddy Roberto Coleone. And Roberto says, hey, Top Cat, do you understand this stuff? And he goes, yeah, I love this stuff. I love the type of plan Tom's got. He says, okay, well, you figure it out and explain it to me. He said, okay, Roberto, I'll take care of it. And then, you know, there's Maria doing the cards. There's another buddy of mine, Army veteran, Robert Shipman. He's on board. And there's Coach Melton and his beautiful wife, Sherry, and their daughter, Piper. And then there's Laura Baccini. You know, I keep coming back to Laura because, A, she puts up with me, but she's just been a great help. And this is a couple that just got into the business last night, called me at 10 o'clock, said, okay, we're getting in. And then I got to remember why I'm doing it. It all started with them, and this presentation is going to end with them. And that's my son, Sean, and Christopher, and their beautiful family. So that's really Wave 4 network marketing is all about. Hey, you know, thanks for your attention. I'll see you at the top, and we'll take it from there. If anybody wants to actually see the walk, well, I'll tell you what. Go to wave4now.com. And I'm not trying to steal you from anybody. I'm just trying to share with you. Take the tour. Check it out. See if it's something you'd like to have. And if you do, just say, when I make the post about this training, just make a comment. Yeah, I'd like it. I'd like to do it. And if you don't want to do it, don't post anything at all. Just forget, you know, I mean, you invested an hour, and I owe you a cocktail at the convention, okay? So, God, I sure hope there ain't 500 people in this call. Anyway, with that, I'm going to wrap it up. Thanks again, and I'll talk to you soon. Wave4now.com. With that, this is John Burns in Charleston, South Carolina, saying good night and farewell. Bye-bye.